For a closer look at the deal to end the showdown in Honduras, we're joined by a regular here at World Focus, Chris Sabatini, the Senior Director of Policy at the Americas Society, Council of the Americas. Chris, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, David.
So as we saw, Western nations and others applied sanctions to Honduras. Did they have an effect?
Oh, clearly. Just to give you an idea of the scope, the U.S. bilateral assistance to Honduras, $30 million was cut in assistance to Honduras, and $270 million loan from the World Bank was ended to Honduras. This had an effect primarily on areas of poverty alleviation, education, health care, and food assistance that affected not only Honduras in the short term, but also, if they went forward with the elections on November 29th, as they were planning to do, and as they still may, without resolving this impasse, this would have continued indefinitely. And that's primarily what was hanging over the heads of the de facto government and its negotiators.
So you're drawing a clear connection between the suffering that was caused by the sanctions, perhaps by design, and its effect in the political process.
And it's not just that. It's also important to recognize that they yanked the visas of 4 Honduran businessmen who had been instrumental in supporting the coup d'etat of June 28th. And these Honduran businessmen basically survived and thrived by being able to travel to the United States. When those visas were yanked, it was sent a very clear message that even private sector business was going to be hamstrung by their actions and their support of the coup.
So this apparent deal to put back Zelaya into office, at least through the elections. We have a stereotype, frankly, of Central America, right? A place with lots of coups. Why is the situation in Honduras now, why is it in the U.S. interest to come up with this kind of resolution?
Well, first of all, this really flew in the face of what has been almost 2 decades of policy towards the region that supported human rights and democracy and committed the United States and the regional institutions, diplomatic institutions, to defending the rule of law, defending elections, and defending democratic institutions. To not have come back out and swung out strongly against what happened on June 28th would have basically reversed several decades-old policy and really threatened to throw the region back into the dark days of authoritarianism and human rights abuses.
Now, I was listening carefully to you. You said maybe elections in about a month. So we shouldn't conclude, therefore, democracy restored?
No. Right now, the agreement is that the Congress and the Supreme Court will decide whether to restore Zelaya or there will be some sort of agreement before the November 29th elections. That is by no means certain. This is the same Congress that voted to remove Zelaya before June 28th. But it's very clear that something seems to be in the works because both the Secretary of State and the Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere seem very confident of the United States. We're very confident this would be resolved. But there is a matter of timing here. In order for the elections on November 29th to be considered legitimate, the de facto government cannot be overseeing them, and there needs to be some sort of international presence that can confirm the pre-electoral conditions and the integrity of the electoral process. And that will take about 2 or 3 weeks to get up and running.
Yeah, careful monitoring of the elections if
Precisely.
they can put it in place. Chris Sabatini, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David.